Thank you, Chairman Pallone and Ranking Member Rogers, and thank you for the witnesses for being with us here today. I'm extremely concerned about how the provisions in this bill would affect rural communities, like the one that I represent in South Central and Southwestern Pennsylvania. Many in my district have no access to reliable broadband whatsoever, and this has impact. It has impact on commerce, on healthcare, and particularly now in education. One of my top priorities in Congress has consistently been to expand services to these areas. Sadly, the direction that this committee is going with the LIFT Act America will only further grow the digital divide and widen the gap between rural and urban America, and not close it. Commissioner O'Reilly, the LIFT Act would mandate government collection of pricing data, require providers to open their broadband networks to competitors after they build the infrastructure, and encourage local governments to build their own networks in direct competition with companies. Do you think that this can be a model for success?
Well, I think, as I've indicated in my testimony, I think it discourages private investment and favors other, by adding new burdens and favoring, competitors from local governments. I think your recipe for disaster, and the areas that aren't served today are likely to remain that way. And you make it more difficult for the private sector to serve and bring benefits. I think the speed rate of 100 up, which, my former colleague indicated that the cable offers 1 gig, but they don't offer 1 gig on upload. And then 2, I would say to that point is that very few people take that service. So to argue that everybody needs it at that rate and we should pay for it just means that the areas that we should be targeting on, that you've talked about in your district, and the consumers and constituents that need service are not going to get it. We're on the edge. We're at the last 5% of America, or give or take, to get to the 25.3 threshold. And I realize it's not ideal in terms of what the future may bring in terms of speeds, but it is getting everybody to a basic level, and we've never gotten there. I was at 4.1, trying to get everyone to 4.1, and we moved the goalpost. Then 10.1, and we moved the goalpost. And now it's 25.3, and we're trying to go to a different place. And it means that those consumers that you represent that don't have service are going to be further away from getting there. Now, the idea that you can have one auction and it will solve all the issues, we're on the edge of getting service to those consumers, and the attention and energy and mission activity will all flow to the new $80 billion program and away from these programs, which will be dismantled.
Mr. O'Reilly, I've seen funding proposals that are supposed to be tech neutral, but they require providers to offer, as we've discussed, 100-100 service. That would seem to limit building to fiber builds. And even though, as you've discussed, other technologies might make more sense in some areas based on cost, where I live based on terrain or remoteness, do you agree that the programs need truly to be tech neutral to ensure that many parts of the country as possible are able to receive this incredibly necessary broadband?
We should use all technologies. The consumer, the end consumer, doesn't mind what the technology is. They want it to work to meet their family's needs. And so to basically say everyone has to have fiber, that is the wrong direction, in my opinion. We certainly want speeds to be as high as we can, but we still have the population that you represent, a portion that doesn't have service today, and we should be really focused on them like a laser.
I think that analogy is spot on. We need to have the development and be able to use all forms of technology to provide this service. As I mentioned in my opening comments, we have areas where commerce and healthcare and education are not being served. So being able to utilize all of these is so important. Again, I thank all of you for being present here today, and I yield the remainder of my time.